the goal was to make it the greatest day in the history of heavy metal. They got to feel the love from the city that they were born in and the city that they made famous. You know what Ozzy's last words to me were? Tell Sharon I want to get the out of here.
Well, we have been fortunate this year to welcome many, many artists to the show, and a few of those artists have hung out with us a couple times, including tonight's special guest, the one and only Tom Morello. Tom, thank you so much for being here, man.
Always a pleasure.
Listen, right out of the gate, I gotta say, congrats on this new track that you have just released. It just came out today. Everything Burns, featuring a band we love on Loudwire, Beartooth. I just gotta ask, how does it feel to have this new song out?
Sure. Well, it's the next installation from my upcoming big rock solo record,
Awesome.
and I'm a big fan of Beartooth and Caleb. But what really made this song happen was the Final Fantasy 14 video game. The composer of that video game is a huge Rage Against the Machine audio slave, Tom Morello riff fan, and reached out. It was almost a year ago, and basically said, like, proposed a collaboration and said, "Hey, I need to hear a song within the next 48 hours." So I was working with Tyler Smith at the time, who produces a lot of the big metal and rock of now, and he reached out to his childhood friend Caleb. And yet we made the track in about a day with the big riffs and the huge grooves. Sent it to Caleb, who fortunately had the day off. Called him up and said, "Hey, dude, what are you doing today? We need to get this song going." And it really was lightning in a bottle. Sometimes bands and artists can talk themselves out of a good idea by spending too much time on it. We're like, this has to be done now. The riffs just came, the lyrics just came, and the one thing that I've never made a song. I'm not trying to put songs in video games. That's not a thing that I do. I'm trying to write great fucking songs that then find homes in the world somewhere, right? And that's very much what happened with this. Everything Burns, his lyric and his vocals, match the track perfectly. They're both a reflection of these kind of dangerous times we live in and a warning as well. And now, while I'm not a gamer, my friends who play Final Fantasy and the kids I know that play Final Fantasy could not be more excited about a collaboration like this.
I love it, man. I love hearing that, and yeah, I mean, it just sounds like if you and Caleb had sort of been talking about this for a while, like, oh, we should
Yeah,
work together, we should do this. So let's sit down.
yeah,
Who knows? Something probably would have come out, but
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
song, man, like the intensity of it, the urgency of it, like
yeah,
you can tell. Oh no, this came together like you said,
yeah,
lightning in a bottle.
yeah. And I honestly couldn't believe it. Like, it was, I've got some experience in writing big riffs, but the idea that
Some,
in
yeah,
such a short period of time, like pressure forged a diamond in a way,
yeah.
but the reason, so this happened almost a year ago. So now, then the composer of Final Fantasy, and for those of you who may not be familiar with it, the music of that game it's done with the same care and nuance and expertise of any Oscar-worthy movie. Like, it is a huge part of the gaming experience, which I've learned. But now that they got this song, they're like, oh shit, like, we've got to find the perfect place. But this is not something we can just sort of chuck into a soundtrack. That it needs to be, like the penultimate moment. And that moment has arrived.
That's amazing, man. I also love the fact that you said, I'm not writing songs for video games
No.
because it was about a year ago that, we got a song from you with Grandson called One Last Dance that was
Yeah,
for the new Venom
yeah,
movie.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
like you didn't write that to
No,
be on the big screen, and yet, man, when those credits hit on Venom, it's the perfect song for that
exactly. I
movie.
agree. I agree. And that one, I just have to give a shout out to my son, Roman Morello, who was 13
Absolutely,
at the
yeah.
time, and he came up with the riffs from that song. So it's nice to have a collaborative partner who you can send to their room if they misbehave.
Now, that's true, man. That's true. You can't do that to Caleb, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, 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 no. He's very well behaved, though. I gotta say, he's awesome.
That's good, man.
He's been really awesome in this entire process, and his kind of the can do. When talent meets that kind of effortless can do attitude, great things can happen.
Have you seen Beartooth live?
I haven't seen them live, only on, like, YouTube and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, man, Caleb is just intense.
Yeah, well,
It's crazy, man.
we just shot the video for the song the other day, so I got to see
Awesome.
some of that in person. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. You saw that come out, man. Well, this is like you mentioned at the very start, this is sort of the latest taste that we have
Yeah.
of your upcoming solo album. What is where do we stand on that? When do you think fans will get their hands
Yeah,
on it?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this has been one of the busiest years of my entire career. From
Yeah.
tours of Australia, 2 tours of Canada, U.S., doing some Tom Morello and Friends shows, playing with Slash and RZA and Run DMC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm headed to India in a few days to play my first
Wow.
shows ever there. And all the same time that my Arm the Homeless Fender guitar was announced today.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
been doing the Black Sabbath, final show in
I
Birmingham.
was gonna say, let's not forget that, man.
Yeah, I'm wearing the shirt right now. I
That's
never
it.
take
Yeah.
the shirt. It's about to fall off. While writing new music as well. So my hope is after the holidays to come back and really hunker down. There's a lot of plans for 2026, but one of those plans is to release this record. I've got some of the biggest riffs of my career. I've been playing like guitar solos like never before, in part because of playing with Roman. Like, we play a lot together, and he's a great riff writer now. I've sort of been bucked into, like, I'm now the rhythm guitar player in the family. I'm the Malcolm Young in the family now, which is
yeah. Not
on
a
the one
bad
hand,
place to be, man.
on the one hand, it's humiliating to be no longer in
Right.
the pole position, but on the other hand, it's forced my rhythm guitar playing to reach new levels.
That's it, man. That's it. And I had a chance to see you at Rocklahoma,
Oh
and
yeah,
Roman was with you, and you
yeah,
guys did. It was such a great set, but also you guys
yeah.
did Mr. Crowley, which was
Yes,
so
yes,
special, man.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
for anybody who saw that video from Back to the Beginning, I mean, it was amazing to see that come together, man.
It was. I mean, that was, the heavy metal's the music that made me love music, and Sabbath created that genre. And then Ozzy's the one who brought my favorite guitar player to the world, Randy Rhoads. That was the
Yep.
poster that was on my wall when I was practicing 8 hours a day. So to be the musical director and the curator of that show was a great honor. And then to have, to make that video. If anybody hasn't seen this, please treat yourself. Treat yourself.
That's
It's
right.
Jack Black and as Ozzy Osbourne in kind of a school of rock setting. We recreated the 1982, 81, 82 video that the Blizzard of Oz did with. We got all the amps, we got all the costumes, everything like that. And my son Roman in the role of Randy Rhoads was pretty full circle moment for me.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, listen, we've talked video games, we've talked movies, talking Sabbath. There's another thing that you didn't mention that you did this year too, and that was bring your music to the stage as part of the
Yes,
the, the
yes,
Revolutions musical
yeah, yeah,
that ran in Chicago at the at Goodman's Owen Theater in October and November.
yeah.
Uh, you know that has wrapped up. What was that experience like for you, man?
It was an incredible experience, and I hope it has a life beyond it because I was as a kid I was in some plays and stuff like that, but it kind of left that all behind. And when Zayd Dorn, who wrote the book, the screenplay for it, reached out. He said, I'm a big fan of not just your Rage Against the Machine work, but your 22 album catalog. I'd like to try to craft a Chicago story, that deals with the nuance and the depth and the politics of your music, and have a bunch of bangers in there. And I was skeptical because I'm like, I don't know, like, how I don't want to make Lion King or My Fair Lady or something like that. And we made a radical rock and roll, awesome punk rock musical that I could not be more proud of. And when it hit exactly at the same time in Chicago during the ICE raids and the protests against
Yeah.
that, I would walk out of rehearsals like literally straight into a march, on the street there. It was an incredible experience, and I'm hopeful that Revolutions has a life beyond the Goodman, and that everybody gets a chance to see it.
Yeah, what medium is left now for you to tackle? Because we write theater, video games, movies.
I got my
Uh,
radio show. We're
you
at
got your
like
radio show. That's right.
350 weeks on my radio show.
That's right.
I don't know. I've always just been, my career is one of, I imagined when I was in a band that I would be in one band my entire life and, make, 20 records with that band, and that would be the sole focus. That's not the way it worked out. But I would say that in some ways, the inability to be in one band has led to a million incredible experiences,
Yeah.
from some of the ones we've talked about, from the play in Chicago to the radio show that I do with my mom, to rocking a solo career, to Audio Slave, Prophets of Rage, 6 years with Bruce Springsteen.
Right,
These
right.
really unforgettable experiences, and so just one chapter more. Over the course of the last few years, I've been touring, as a solo artist and really embracing the totality of that career, playing tribute to Chris Cornell and celebrating his memory with the fans, playing tribute to the Rage Against the Machine riffs that I'm so proud of, the Night Watchman acoustic work, trying to meet these dangerous times with dangerous songs.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, and it's amazing you talk about all of that, and here we are tonight, talking about new music, right? Like
Yes.
like you are not just rehashing things, you're not just,
Oh,
you know, living in the past at all, or and not that there's anything wrong with nostalgia and that kind
yeah.
of thing. And there's
Yeah.
certainly a ton of nostalgia with the incredible songs you've been part of, but to also be part
Yeah.
of brand new music. And this new song with Beartooth, Everything Burns, I think, showcases just that, like, oh yeah, you're not stopping anytime soon.
Anytime soon. It's always about positive social, positive, forward artistic movement.
Yeah.
Every show, try to make, I always look at like the next song's the best song, the next show's the best show, and, never resting on laurels, always like demanding the most of myself, on any stage or in any studio.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, I got to ask you, I was fortunate enough to be at Back to the Beginning in Birmingham, and
Mm-hmm.
just, something I'll think about for the rest of my life. And
Sure.
of course,
Sure.
a few weeks after that, it completely became surreal that
Mhm.
any of us were part of that.
Yeah.
As you look back on that, what sort of surprised you the most about that day?
Well, the day was a blur because you gotta
Sure.
realize that it was probably 18 months of preparation for that
Yeah.
day, and I cared so much about it, and put so much into it, and I'm super type A, and eventually you just got to let go and the show happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
so, so that was the so what surprised me the most about it. I mean, the one thing I wasn't, so I guess the goal was to make it the greatest day in the history of heavy metal. We felt like it was potentially the most important day in the history of heavy metal, and with Ozzy's passing 2 weeks later, I think that that's probably inarguable now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But afterwards, I'll describe this moment. So after the show is said and done, we go to the after. Ozzy actually came to the after party, right? Like Ozzy came to the after party. So I'm playing pinball. I don't know. Were you in that room afterwards with like the pin?
That's right. No, yeah, yeah, I've heard this. I heard this story,
Yeah.
man. But tell it for the
Yeah,
listeners
yeah.
because it's
So
amazing,
I'm
man.
like playing pinball like with my
Yeah.
son Roman after the show, and somebody's tugging on the back of my shirt. I'm like, get off me! I've got multi-ball, and it's like Ozzy Osbourne, right? So I go and I say Ozzy. I got to see him. I got to see him one last time. Got to kiss him on the head,
Yeah.
and you know what Ozzy's last words to me were? Tell Sharon I want to get the fuck out of here. which I think he may have meant in more ways than one. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But my lasting impression of that, and then afterwards we went back to the hotel where all the bands were, all the fans were, everybody just like stood up and applauded themselves. Everybody had
Yeah.
tears in their eyes. It was really, that
Yeah.
was hugging. It was pretty incredible. But my lasting impression was that there's never been an event like that in the history of rock and roll. We're a band like Black Sabbath, who should be on the Mount Rushmore of all time bands, invented a genre in that city of Birmingham. They got to, it's a 20-minute walk from the front door of that stadium to Ozzy's childhood home, right?
Yeah.
They got to feel the love from the city that they were born in and the city that they made famous, right? They got to feel the love of all those bands that they created, that their music created, right? They got to feel the love of a global audience of millions who they knew was present on that day, watching from their garages, from their basements, listening on the radio in their cars. And they got to give that love back, all four of them alive on that stage, letting the world know that they heard and they felt that love. It was a really special day.
Amen, man. And we've had a lot of conversations this year celebrating Ozzy's legacy and celebrating the legacy of Sabbath, and that's not going to stop anytime soon either, man.
Yeah.
And but I love, I was in the pit near the stage for that whole day, and I saw you countless times just banging your head, just
Oh,
enjoying every
sure.
second. So I
I
know
was
it
having
was
the
a
time
blur,
of
but you were soaking it up, man.
I was having the time of my life, just like hearing some of my favorite music played by some of my favorite artists. But I'll tell you, I don't know if we've discussed this before, but my favorite, there are a lot of really emotional moments. Getting a
Yeah.
shout out from Ozzy on stage was one, like, is very, deeply meaningful to me. But my favorite, like the most hair raising moment of the entire thing, was the day before. And so we had 3 days of like 10-hour, 11-hour rehearsals with those super groups, and me kind of getting it all together. Very, very stressful. Everybody's jet lag, and I'm there with my son. So we finally finished the last rehearsal, and we're getting ready. Please let me get back to the hotel and get some sleep before this thing actually really, really starts, right? And we're getting ready to get in the van, and somebody goes, "Hey, Black Sabbath is sound checking. Do you guys want to check it out?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, we do." So I'm in the stadium, and they're doing the opening of the show, which was War Pigs. So it's the four dudes in Black Sabbath. The red light, like the stadium is,
Yeah.
Black Sabbath, Birmingham red. It's just me, my son, Steven Tyler, Scotty and his kid, a couple of people. It's like an audience of about 12 watching Black Sabbath play War Pigs in their hometown for just us. And at the end of it, they don't even know we're there, but we're screaming wildly in the back of the stadium, like giving it up one last time for our heroes.
That's absolutely incredible, man. Thank you for sharing that. I have not
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
that, so
yeah.
that's amazing. Gives me goosebumps hearing it, man.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I'll just tell you that with Ozzy and Black Sabbath, their DNA is in Everything Burns. It's in every riff that I've ever written. It'll continue to be, it's going to be, the fingerprints are everywhere. It's in my son's writing and in his playing too. So it's a generational band that's going to continue into the future.
Amen to that, man. Tom Morello, thank you as always for hanging, spending time with us tonight. Congrats on this new song, Everything Burns with Beartooth. Cannot wait to see and hear all that's to come. Listeners, get everything you need at tommorello.com. We'll always keep you updated right here on Loudwire too. But man, you know it. Anytime you want to come on, hang out,
Appreciate it.
chat, the door is always open, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure. Peace.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate
Okay,
the time,
bye-bye.
man.
Take care, man. Take care. Cheers. Bye.